I was on stage one Sunday matinee performance of Jersey Boys on Broadway, and as I look out into the audience, I think to myself, whoa, because staring at me from 10 rows back was the legend himself, Clint Eastwood. At this point in my life, I was playing the role of Frankie Valli's wife, Mary Delgado, in the Broadway musical, and just like so many of you, I worked my butt off to get to this level of my career in an industry often based on who you know, and I knew no one, and based on how you look, which I've been told is too Italian, too short, too different. We got word that Clint Eastwood was going to be directing the film version of Jersey Boys, and they began calling people in from our cast to audition, and an audition is just like an interview. And they were looking for someone to play my role of Mary Delgado. So my agent and I tried to get me an audition to be seen. A few weeks go by, my agent calls me and she says, Renee, I'm so sorry. They said they won't give you an audition for the role of Mary Delgado, but they'll give you one for one of the smaller roles, one of the angels who sings My Boyfriend's Back. I hung up the phone so disappointed and so confused because every girl I knew on Broadway was getting an audition for Mary Delgado but me. So I spent some time feeling my feelings, communicating with myself, and then after a little while I threw my hands up literally and figuratively and I said, what am I going to do? I'm still going to go in and audition for one of the angels. The day of the audition, the casting director says, Renee, would you like to sing My Boyfriend's Back first or read the scene? And at that moment, ladies, I heard this quiet little voice within. You know, sometimes you hear that little voice? And the voice was like, you have to do this. It feels too right. So I look at the casting director and I said, you know, Jeff, I was really hoping to come in and read for the role of Mary Delgado. I had no idea what he was going to say. And he looks back at me and he goes, I was just thinking the same thing. I said, amazing, great! So I did the audition that day and I left there feeling so grateful because I got the chance. That's all I wanted, to gain that opportunity. I go back to 8 shows a week on Broadway, and a few weeks later my agent calls me again, and this time she says, you're Mary Delgado in the movie. Clint Eastwood loves you. And I was like, what? It was one of the most surreal moments of my life. That first day, heading to Warner Brothers lot where we were filming, you have to understand, I had never done TV or film before. This felt like jumping off of a cliff. And I'm sitting in the shuttle on the way to set, and I'm in my first beautiful Mary dress, and the butterflies started up again. And then that quiet voice came in again and said, Renee, you know what you're doing. Clint Eastwood hired you, trust in your talent and leap. Boy, and I walked through that door the first day and the whole team was like, Renee, welcome. And then that first day of filming and every day that followed, when we were finished shooting for the day, I would sit and eat lunch with Clint Eastwood, ask him every question I could, and then listen in a complete way. Because just like each and every one of you here, I'm a sponge. And I like to use every opportunity I can to learn and to grow. I was there taking notes, listening to Lucinda. About a month into the film, I'm eating lunch once again, because listen, I'm Italian, eating is priority. And I'm sitting with Clint Eastwood and one of the producers of the film when they begin talking about how Clint knew he wanted me for the role when he saw me on Broadway. And I said, put my fork down. I said, do you guys want to hear a funny story? I never got an audition for the role of Mary Delgado. The only reason I got to read the scenes is because I opened up my big mouth in the room and asked. And the two of them looked at each other, they said, wait, what do you mean? We requested you. We said, we want the girl from the Broadway show to come into this audition. Imagine my surprise. I came to find out that day that there was a middle person, casting associate, juggling a few films at once, and just dropped the ball on having me come into audition. In other words, if I did not have the ability to speak up and communicate my desire in the room that day, I could have missed my once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I could have been sitting in the movie theater watching Jersey Boys instead of on the screen in Jersey Boys, never knowing that Clint Eastwood was waiting for me to walk through the door. So I ask you, Think for yourself. How many people are waiting for you to walk through their door? How many people need the solution to their problem and they just need you to communicate it? See, my story is not unique. For me, it was about communicating effectively to read for a movie role. But for you, it could be communicating effectively to share your elevator pitch and talk about what you do. Or communicating effectively to build your network of relationships like you're doing here at Global Women. Whatever the case may be, I believe everything starts with communication. And when you learn to master this skill, you become limitless. So over the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to share with you 3 steps of my 7-step connect method to use communication to effectively share what you do and how you do it. Are you ready, ladies?
Yes.
I said, are you ready, ladies?
Yes.
All right, stand up. We don't do anything here without moving our body first because research shows a direct connection between movement and improved cognitive performance. So come on, raise those hands over your head. Let's go. Whatever feels good. Beautiful. Oh yeah. Here's a water bottle. There you go, love. Beautiful. Raise the hands. Raise the roof. Yeah, ladies. Yeah, I know. This would be good. Since we have
Austin, turn the music on for a second.
Oh, yes, please. This is what I'm talking about. See, I'm going to just, as we're doing this, keep moving as I'm talking. Do you know how effective this is? Before you walk into any meeting, any conversation, you have to present. Just find a moment to move your body, and you'll see how all of a sudden you start focusing better. You start connecting better. Yes or yes?
Yes.
All right, keep moving. What are you doing here? We have hips for a reason, okay? Sometimes, we're not happy with them, but then it's like, but we're meant to move. Can you put the volume up, sir, please?
Different music?
It's a little step touch music. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit more
All right,
elevated.
step touch it out just for a minute. We'll take it. Beautiful. Give yourselves a round of applause. Sit on that. Okay, step 1 of the Connect method. Communication with self. Communication with self. This first step is number 1 because internal communication leads to external payoffs. Those are payoffs in your business, in your relationships, in your health. How can we ever communicate effectively with others if we haven't first done so within ourselves? See, but nowadays, we do this subconsciously or sometimes consciously. We move away from ourselves and what's going on. Why? I don't want to think about that thing that's stressing me out. So you know what? I'm just going to stream a whole show on Netflix on my phone so I don't have to think about it. Or I'm going to hop on social media for the good old S&C, scroll and compare. You know what I'm talking about. Where we look into the lives of others and then compare ourselves against their perceived realities and then wonder why we don't feel good about ourselves. It's because we're moving further and further away from who we are and what's going on within. But if we want to become what I call master communicators, we got to connect with ourselves first. And when it comes to sharing about our business, sharing about that book idea, writing that query letter, we have to first get clear about why we're doing what we're doing. Does that make sense? So we do that by connecting with ourselves. So here's a simple practice to adopt each and every day to help you create and foster that strong relationship with yourself. When you wake up in the morning, instead of rolling over to your nightstand to grab that smartphone and check your emails and go right into distraction mode, leave the phone aside, ask yourself one question, ladies, that's it. How am I feeling? How am I feeling? And then take 5 to 10 minutes to put pen to paper. Now, why am I saying write instead of type? Because when we write, we activate more parts of the brain, giving us a deeper understanding of that information. And you'll see what happens is what's called stream of consciousness. For a minute, you may be thinking like, I don't know what this girl Renee told me to do. Nothing's happening. Keep writing. Stream of consciousness, it pulls those thoughts from your subconscious mind that we're often not aware of, that also have the most creative ideas for our books, for our businesses. We pull those ideas from our subconscious into our conscious, through our hand and onto the page, and it becomes this beautiful spiritual dump. And then, after a few minutes, read back what you wrote, because let me tell you, it can be enlightening what you find. I've had times where I read back what I wrote and I go, oh, I thought I was over that argument with my husband, but apparently I'm not because I'm still writing about it. And this is so important because it gives us clues, insights as to what's going on within. And when it comes to being able to share our book idea or talk about our business, to give a powerful elevator pitch, because trust me, that can make or break an opportunity. By writing, that's where some of my most insightful ideas have come from. When I first wrote my book, I knew that I wanted it to be about communication, but like Lucinda was talking about, communication is so broad, right? It's huge. It's a huge general idea. Until I took a moment to connect with myself as I'm sharing with you, because I practice what I preach. And I'm writing one morning, and the light bulb went off that said, wait, what part of communication, Renee, do you want to niche down to? Yes? Do we understand what that word niche means? To really specify, right? If we were going to go fishing, instead of saying, I'm just going fishing for fish, as opposed to saying, no, I'm fishing for salmon. Because I know salmon, they eat this kind of bait. I have to go out at this season, this time of day. So I'm journaling, communicating with myself, and it came to me. I said, oh my goodness, Renee, there is such a lack of true connection nowadays. Because everyone's like this. On the phone's like, oh, yeah, what's going on? Yeah. Or texting or emailing. That there's no true connection. And that's what I need to shine a light on. Because just last night, I was at a restaurant with a girlfriend of mine, and we were catching up and chatting, and next to us sits a family of 5. 2 parents, a teenage son, and 2 young kids under the age of 6. And when I tell you for 2 hours, no one spoke, no one looked at each other, because they all had their heads down in a digital device. And I remember my heart breaking because I said, they're missing out on these beautiful moments of connection. Boom, there it was. But that may not have come to me if I didn't take time to connect with myself. Because let's face it, we have so many things going on. Our friends are calling us. We have to make dinner for the kids. We have to go to the office. Our heads are like this. When I wrote my book and in all my research, I came to find that our brains have literally begun to speed up because of all the distractions we have because of digital technology. So it's up to us to do what I call consciously connect within. Because I promise you, once you do that and create a practice in the morning, writing, and then before bed after you have your day, you're going to look back and be like, oh my goodness, I've been trying to pinpoint what that idea was. I've been writing about it for the past 2 months. And that's where the creative ideas flow. Is this something you can do, yes or yes? Yes. You want to become a better communicator, you must communicate with yourself first. And if I did not practice strong communication with myself each and every day, I never would have heard that voice in the audition room telling me to speak up and thus gain an opportunity. See, because when we start to communicate with ourselves, that's where we tune into that voice. Our gut intuition, our gut instincts, the quiet voice of our souls. However you'd like to label it, at the end of the day, it's our inner compass, always guiding us with exactly what to do, what to say, and how to say it. And from that gut, especially us as women, we have such powerful intuition. That's where the most authentic part of ourselves lives. And when you start to listen to that voice, all of a sudden, the clarity comes about what you do and why you do it, what your mission is. And we'll all come to find that it's not about us, it's bigger than us. But we can only know that when we tune in to that inner compass. Yes? Yeah. Beautiful. So step 1 of the Connect method, communication with self. Step 2, complete listening. Listening to hear and not just to respond. See, everyone else is telling you communication is about what you say. I'm telling you, communication is about what you hear. Nowadays, we can turn on any news channel at any time of day and see a lot of people talking over each other, talking at each other, but never talking with each other. And that's because we've all gotten so attached to our own labels, whether they be political or religious or cultural. And the minute we're in a conversation and the person who's speaking says something that we identify as a difference, boom, we cut off from listening. And thus we see this great divide we live in. But here at Global Women, we're not about division, we're about uniting. Am I right or am I right?
Yes.
And we do that through complete listening. Dr. Kellyanne and Lucinda had such a great conversation, and one of the biggest highlights for me was when Dr. Kellyanne talked about the importance of research and the importance of analyzing her industry, right? In order to do that, we must practice being complete listeners. Because what often happens is we get in a conversation, and we're all going to be honest with ourselves here, right? Because we can never make transformation unless we take accountability. And what most commonly happens, and listen, I'm guilty of it, this is why I can talk about it. We're in a conversation and we're speaking, and the whole time, especially when it comes to talking about our businesses, that person's speaking, and in our heart we're like, okay, I have to tell them, so I am a communication expert and I have this book out. And we're like this, like, and then I have to tell them that I'm speaking on a stage next week. We have no idea what that freaking person just said, right? And then we're going to talk and we're like, yeah, and yeah. And we fill with filler words because we're going to respond before we know what we want to say. So going back to Dr. Kellyanne's point about really understanding your business, understanding where there's maybe a gap that your book can fill or your business can fill. In order to do that, we have to listen. Pay attention. Okay, when Dr. Kellyanne and Lucinda are up there talking, wow, I heard them say a few times that we have to be up on industry trends. We have to know how to do comms. I can only realize that and implement it by listening. Yes? So how do we listen in a complete way? Because it is not natural to us, because as I just shared, our brains have begun to speed up, and when our brains are fast, what are we doing? We're breathing from up here, and all of a sudden we're like, I just can't focus, I feel so scattered. So the first thing we do, the first part of complete listening, is we ground ourselves and take deep belly breaths through a powerful practice called box breathing, used by Navy SEALs, professional athletes, professional actors. And what this does in this sense is allow you to calm down your nervous system when you're in a conversation so you can focus and hear what that beautiful woman just said to you or that agent said to you, how you can improve upon your pitch. If we're not listening, we're missing the gold. And through this practice of breathing, all we do is breathe in through the nose for 4 counts, hold it for 4 counts, breathe out through the mouth for 4 counts, and hold it for 4 counts. That's it. And the reason I share this with all of my clients, and I share this from stage, is because this is simple and implementable right now. You can start training yourself to breathe this way, and as you do, you'll see how all of a sudden you're like, oh, I feel a little more chill. Like I was able to listen to Dr. Kellyanne a little bit better. So we're going to try this together right now. Just a couple times. Stand on up. We're doing it, baby. We are what I call imperfect action takers, okay? I'm not here to just like instill motivation. We got to put into practice, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So 4 counts through the nose, and I want you to feel like you're filling your belly like it's a tire. Because again, we're used to breathing from up here, right? Because when you get anxious, you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, Lynn, I loved your breath. And then we got off track, okay? So breathe in through the nose and fill your belly. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now hold it. 1, 2, 3. Out through the mouth. 2, 3, 4. And hold it. 2, 3, 4. Doing it again. In through the nose for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out through the mouth. 2, 3, 4. And hold it. 2, 3, 4. Beautiful. Have a seat. Now, did anyone feel even the slightest shift? Like where all of a sudden you're like, oh, I felt a little bit different than. Beautiful. And that was literally 25 seconds. So think about how you can use this to your advantage, because most of the world is not doing this. So when you start to train your body to breathe in this way, now you have the upper hand. You're able to focus. You're able to connect. Oh, and I just heard that you said, wow, I just heard Victoria talk about what she does, biohacking your divinity. I know someone else who does something similar. Maybe I can connect them. Ooh, look at that. But if I wasn't listening, I could have missed out on that opportunity. Yeah? So complete listening to hear and not just to respond. I want to share another part of complete listening. few parts that are really going to serve you. Because what we're talking about here today, essentially, if we want to give a 40,000 foot view, is putting ourselves out there. That's what we're doing. That's why we're all here together. We want to have a microphone in our hands. We want to conversate and communicate with people who maybe can help us get on stages, or someone like Lucinda, who's an incredible agent, to help us get our books out there. So in order to do that, we have to feel comfortable showing up as our best selves. And that's why listening is so critical. So when you're in a conversation, instead of doing what so many of us do, we're listening and we're like this, right? Arms folded, or shoulders are off to the side. This gives off a subconscious message that I'm not interested in what you have to say. No, that's cool. I'm sorry, what? Right? Coldness. But I like to give you 2 words that make all the difference. When someone's speaking, when you're pitching your idea, when you're talking about your business, or when you're the one on the receiving end, think 2 words: heart open. Heart open. I think it every time I'm in a conversation, every time I'm on this stage. I love you. I feel so honored that I get to be up here with you. I want you to feel that. And how different is it if I was like this versus if I was like this? Hey girls, so I'm going to talk to you today about communication. Anybody feel a difference of energy? Yes, right? So think about that for yourselves. When you're in a meeting, all the human spirit wants is to feel seen, heard, and understood. So you better believe if someone's speaking to you, maybe it's Lucinda, and you're talking to her about this book idea you have, and she's speaking to you, and you're listening, and you're making eye contact, and you're thinking heart open to her. Don't you think that she's going to, on a subconscious level, feel like you have that deep interest in her, and she's going to want to keep working with you? See, so many of us miss the mark on that because we're thinking about ourselves. Okay, I have to tell her about this book idea, and I already got turned down 3 times. And then she's talking, and you're like, as opposed to being present. Those old school manners go a long way, and they do not go out of style, trust me. Then as that person's speaking, tune in for things that you have in common, okay? Perhaps that person's talking about, oh yeah, I grew up in New Jersey, and boom, oh my gosh, I gotta remember that. She grew up in New Jersey, so did I. Put it in the back of your mind. But in order to do that, ladies, we have to be present, because again, what we usually do is we're like, oh, she's a red blazer, oh God, I probably look so fat in this outfit right now. And we're having a whole conversation with ourselves. We're missing the gold. Say that with me, missing the gold. And it's simple. We can make this fix like that. Then the next thing that we want to do is reflect back what that person, thank them, acknowledge what they said, and then reflect back whatever commonality you may find. Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Kellyanne, for sharing that perspective. I have to tell you, I can't believe that you come from an Italian background, so do I. Boom, connection is made, defenses go down, and now we can have a 2-way conversation. See, where most people miss the mark is they're so concerned with what they have to say, and I have to tell you about my business, and me, I, that they've made it all about them. But the truth is, we're here building businesses, sharing our mission, writing books, creating beautiful recipes to help people with their health. It's not about us. So why are we spending more time trying to be understood than seeking to understand? We want to seek to understand first, then be understood. Yes? Yes. Does this make sense? Yes. Can you see how just these little shifts will make such a difference in you being able to share your elevator pitch? And being able to first, before you even share it, identify what it is, right? That's why that first step, communicating with self, is most important. Because we can get so wrapped up in what we think it should be, right? We should this, we should all over ourselves, as I say in my book. Instead of getting clear on, why do I do this? Why do I care so much about people connecting in a real way? Because you know what? I grew up in an Italian-American family where you could often find us sitting around the kitchen table, eating, talking, sometimes arguing, but nonetheless communicating and connecting. And that's what allowed me to become a confident young woman and pursue Broadway and reach my dreams, because that was my foundation, and I want other people to feel that. Damn, that feels good. And being so driven by my mission that all that other crap doesn't matter. See, but when we start from the outside in, that's why we get confused. That's why we get wrapped up in what social media tells us, and so wrote a book, so I should write a book. No, what is it in your gut, remember that inner compass, that is driving you? Lynn and I were talking earlier, and I said, I have chills because I said, how did this all start with you creating these beautiful recipes? And she talked to me about how for years and decades, she was sick. And she got to a point in her 50s where she was so sick of being sick that she said, I have to do whatever I can. And talk about a God-given mission. I said, you know what's so beautiful about this? This was meant to be. You had to go through all that to do what you're doing now because you are helping. You're saving people's lives through your recipes. But if she didn't take the time to really get honest with herself, she wouldn't know that. Maybe she would get swept away by what the new trend is with food. No, it's bigger than that. And that's why if you ever talk to Lynn, you see how lit up she is by her purpose and by what she does. Yes?
Yes.
So step 1 of the Connect method, communication with self. Step 2, complete listening. Listening to hear and not just to respond. And step 3, talk from the heart. This 3rd step is so vital because when we talk from the heart, we take action in our lives through speaking up. And I want you to remember this phrase, speaking up is your superpower. Speaking up is your superpower. But see, nowadays, so many of us replace speaking up with typing up. Because we believe that speaking up means being confrontational, but I'm here to tell you this. Communication does not mean confrontation. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Bold that one in your notes. Communication does not mean confrontation. And by believing they're one and the same, we're denying ourselves beautiful opportunities for connection. Now, when I mention speaking up, I'm referring to sharing your thoughts and opinions, addressing a concern, or asking a question or asking for what you want. Speaking up is not just our right, it is our duty. And I understand it's not always comfortable, right? If you identify as an introvert, but it's necessary. And when you start to realize that speaking up, whether it's getting on this microphone today and doing your 1-minute pitch for our new members, or it's out there sharing your elevator pitch or reaching out to Lucinda to share this book idea, understand it's not about you. Speaking up is what allows us to help others, whether that be through our business and giving them the solution to their problems, or sometimes holding up a mirror for someone, you know what I'm saying, and being like, listen, I don't know if you realize how you sound in this moment, but I'm trying to help you out here, okay? So here are 5 parts of practicing speaking up so it becomes second nature. Number 1, know what you want to speak up about and know why. Now, in reference to what we're talking about here today, let's really identify this to speaking up about sharing what we do and why we do it. We call that our elevator pitch, right? And I want you to really understand this, because if some of you are sitting there being like, you know, I still don't know exactly how to communicate, like what I do and why I do it. Great. I want you to first get clear on these 2 questions. This is the basis of any business, of any book you're going to write, of any talk you're going to create. Number 1, what problem am I helping people to solve? What problem? For me, it's effective communication. Yes? And number 2, who am I solving it for? Remember what Lucinda said. Sometimes people talk about be authentic, and that's great, and there's a strong message in that, but that's very general, yeah? But if I said, the problem I help solve is confidence in speaking up, and I solve this problem for women in business. Is that different than just saying, I help people be authentic? Yes? Everyone's shaking their head. So that's why this is so important. So you ask yourself, what problem am I solving? And the way you find this is not from your own brain. Remember being like, oh, this is like, I saw this trend on TikTok, and like it was saying that a problem women have is like, you know, their hair doesn't part the right way. So I'm gonna, no. What you do is you first connect with yourself and understand, okay, what is maybe a problem that I've been helping people with my whole life and I didn't even realize it? Me, Renee, I've helped people communicate better. I didn't mean to do it. It's just naturally, innately what was in me. And friends would come to me and be like, I don't know, like I really am into this guy. And I'm like, okay, great. Did you tell him how you feel? Oh no, I don't want to rock the boat. I'm like, well, that's step one. Speaking up is your superpower, yeah? So you get clear on what problem am I helping these women, these men, this audience to solve. And what happens is, as the experts, we get in our own heads and we forget to listen, as Dr. Kellyanne said, to hear what our audience is complaining about. Now, does this make sense? In their words, what is my audience complaining about? I'll tell you what my audience complains about. I just have no connection with my team. We don't come together. It's like there's issues when we come to meetings. I hear my audience saying, I want to share my thoughts and opinions, but I'm just afraid. Lack of confidence, right? I'm just afraid. So we don't communicate effectively. That's what I'll hear leaders say. I go into companies. There's just a lack of communication. There's a lack of connection. So what do I do as Renee? In my marketing, in conversations, I reflect back what they have said their problem is. I don't say what I know the problem is. That's being an expert. We have to meet our audience where they're at. Does that make sense? So, for instance, when I first started, because this can be the hardest thing, to really get clear on what problem am I solving. Because most of us, we have our customer journey. Meaning we went through something that we got to the other side, and now we want to help, for example, women to do the same. But we forget where we were when we were in the problem. So then we start speaking as experts. So what I encourage you all to do is start to listen to the language and the words they're using when they're complaining about this said thing. Because then you can never go wrong. And when you share about what you do, now you're speaking right to the target. And that woman or that man or that group is going to be like, oh my gosh, it's like you read my mind. Well, yes, because I've been, here's that word again, listening. Right? Not operating from what I think you need, but you're telling me you need. I'm freaking scared to speak up. Oh, my clientele getting on camera, oh my God, I'm terrified. Like, I hate the way I look when I get on camera. So then I forget all my words, I flub my lines, I can't do it. Right, my dear Tamara? Tamara and I had that conversation in the bathroom. So speaking up, step 3, is all about being able to communicate what you're doing and who you're doing it for. So identify, what do I want to speak up about? Do I want to share my elevator pitch? Do I want to ask a question? Do I want to ask for what I want? And know why. See, the why is that magic ingredient that gives you that gentle nudge of courage when you feel afraid. So for example, if some of you are peeing your pants right now, you're like, I think I have to get up there and speak for a minute. Good. That's a sign that you're stepping outside your comfort zone. But what I want you to tap into is, what's the why behind you speaking up? For me, speaking up in that audition room for the Jersey Boys movie, I knew that I could not live with myself if I knew that I was so close to an opportunity and I could have grabbed hold of it if I just spoke up. I couldn't live with that regret. So I spoke up. So for you, what is your why of having this microphone in your hand, of reaching out to Lucinda, of writing that book? What is your why? And as Lucinda said again, if it's from ego, we're not doing it for the right reason. What is it from your gut? What is your why to speak up? The second part of speaking up, do a brain dump, okay? Write down, this goes back to communicating with yourself, write down everything that you believe you want to speak up about. So say, for example, you want to write down like, okay, I'm going to work on this elevator pitch. So let me write down everything that I know about the problem I'm solving and who I'm solving it for, yeah? And then trim the fat, I call it, and create clear bullets of the main points you want to share. Then part 4, practice aloud. Ooh, let me tell you, this is so important. And how do you do that? Go into a room by yourself and verbalize aloud, just like I'm doing right here. You must verbalize aloud, because when we verbalize, we magnify and maximize what we're saying, allowing us to hear back
Number one, if our tone matches our intention, if we're using words that resonate with us, verbalizing is a powerful mechanism. And to take it to the next level of practice, grab that handy dandy smartphone, put it on a windowsill while you're by yourself and press record. And speak to the camera like it's one of us in the room, right? And you can say, hi, my name is Renee Marino, and I help business owners and entrepreneurs to communicate effectively to create genuine connections that lead to opportunity. And you practice it, and you speak to the camera. And it's gonna be uncomfortable at first, but that's how we build the muscle, right? And then if you want to take it to the next level of practice, this was my favorite. You bring in a child or a trusted friend or a pet. So when my English bulldog, Frank the Tank, was alive, I would bring him in the room, and he'd be my audience, and I'd speak up to him, and it always ended in a beautiful two-way conversation.
And then you take it to the next level, and you join Global Women Club.
Exactly.
You practice with a microphone.
Exactly. And that is why Global Women is such an incredible community, because that's built into the fabric of this community. That's what we do. We get on this microphone to practice, to build that muscle. The next step is you share. You do it, and even if you're going to be nervous, challenge yourself today. I'm at this beautiful networking event. I got to start sometime. Practice it. Even if you flub your words, if you get nervous, it doesn't matter, because remember, it's not about perfection. It's about connection. And as long as you're speaking from a place of love and grace and kindness, that's how people feel you, and they say, you know what, I don't know, I have trust for Dr. Kellyanne. Like, I want to hear more. And that's how we build the relationships that help us build our business, that help us write the book, that help us create those relationships. Does this make sense? Yes. Speaking up is your superpower. So we have step 1, communication with self. Step 2, complete listening. And step 3, talk from the heart, because speaking up is your superpower. I'll leave you with this. Ladies, now is your time. Now is your time to speak up and seize every opportunity meant for you. Now is your time to communicate effectively so you can share your elevator pitch with your heart and your soul. Now is your time to step into your confidence and show up as the woman you were designed to be. Now is your time. Thank you, ladies.